My last question on, let's say the sovereign wealth funds is, could you see them getting into mining at some point?
Yeah, great question. And yes, that is my plan. And that goes to the ESG issue. Okay, here's the solution. All right. Let's say you can't get around, your compliance department can't get around the issue of ESG because it's still out there and there still have compliance and ethics committees in these big funds. And so here's a solution. Let's say you go from scratch. Let's say you go to West Texas and you want to build a gig facility and build it out in 250 increments. And you basically guarantee the investors that you're only going to use wind and solar, and you agree to the Texas grid that you'll pay back some of your production. And you go to the capital markets and say, every time we're awarded a coin, it stays on the balance sheet of this investment. So you know with certainty that your coin was mined in this facility that you own. That's what I'm doing. And that's a big solution for me because I get to check the box now on ESG for anybody that's even saying to me, where does your coin come from? I can't do that if I buy an ETF. I can't do that if I just go and buy a coin in the open market. But I can do that if I was awarded the coin in an ESG compliant facility. And there's enough coin to be mined left that you're going to see a lot of capital put to work. And not just the geography of West Texas. There's other jurisdictions in Northern Europe that are looking at this proposal as well. So you're basically going into the government, Pop, and saying, we are going to mine sustainably. We're going to do it. Give us the permits, give us access to the grids, give us all the things we need to be able to service this facility and let us get to work.
So I've got Bill from Abra here. What's your take on the ESG stuff?
Well, Kevin, really great to meet you. Very impressed with how deep you've gone on this topic. It's not easy, so much respect there. I guess, two questions, right? First, I understand that the ESG issue hasn't quote unquote gone away, but one, do the numbers really support the narrative when you go deep that the issue should exist? And do you actually think that you could produce enough energy in wind and solar at large scale to make a dent in the hash power war, assuming that we get back to the current hash power numbers by this time next year? Actually, I'm assuming we would be ahead of the pre-China crackdown numbers by this time next year. And would wind and solar actually make enough of a dent to even warrant the investment?
It's a great question. You can't do it with solar alone. It's a combination of wind and solar, which makes it expensive, but it's definitely ESG compliant. And let me tell you, I agree with you around the debate. I mean, if you want to own Bitcoin, but it's not that simple. If you have a compliance department and you have the Larry Fink letter hanging over you, and everybody knows about the Larry Fink letter. In fact, everybody also knows that BlackRock has hired a chief ESG officer. And so if you are being serviced by, and every sovereign fund in the world works with BlackRock, pretty well all of them, you really can't go against that mandate. It's not going to work for you. You've got to solve it. And so the question is, you got to check the box on ESG or you can't play in the coin space if you're tied into those metrics. So it's not like they don't want to, it's they can't. It's the same issue about buying certain goods and services from banned countries. That's what the ethics committees stop you there too. I really work in this institutional world, and it's not like you can call up the chief compliance officer and have a dialogue regarding the merits of mining Bitcoin with existing energy sources. They just don't give a shit. They're not going to take the call. They're just saying no.
So when they see how much money is being made in the space, don't you think they're just going to change the narrative to fit what they need it to be to make the investment, which is what, I mean, come on, they do that anyway. I mean, and also they're not eliminating all of the companies from the Fortune 500 that probably wouldn't pass muster on the same usage around ESG if they weren't already in the portfolio today.
Well, that's not true, actually. If you look at the allocations, even CalPERS alone said this after the Think letter. They're going to downsize their energy holdings. Probably we're up at 20%. They may be down as low as 8 now. And you can see it reflected in large energy names like, Schlumberger and Exxon and Mobil. They're getting their PEs compressed because the incremental buyer is not there anymore on the hydrocarbon mandate coming out of the White House. So there's some pretty big forces at play. And when you talk about, if you'd only own Bitcoin at 8,000, now it's over 60,000 to it. to a sovereign fund that's running, 30, 40, 50, 60 billion dollars. It's a rounding error.
Right.
They don't care. And at the same time, it's the greatest opportunity for those of us that have invested in cryptocurrencies is to solve this problem for them. I mean, it's not going to get solved debating it with the compliance officer. It's going to get solved when they can simply check the box saying this facility in Norway, this facility in northern Quebec, this facility in northern Alberta, and this facility in West Texas, where the places I'm looking at, mines sustainably as agreed to with the government. The government has certified this an ESG compliant facility. Then the debate's over. In fact, those are the very people that I'm going to raise capital from to build out these facilities, because it solves their problem. The same compliance office that won't let the fund buy Bitcoin will put money in the ground to build a facility to mine coin if it's ESG compliant. Go figure.